Okay. The reason why you're here because you're always ready. Well, in this lesson this morning, or in this module rather, we will be able to differentiate emotions and feelings. As far as we know, feelings makes us emotional, but there is a distinguished difference between these two terms, emotions and feelings. And also throughout this course, we will be able to understand the contributions and non-contributions of this emotions and feelings towards our moral decisions. And of course, in this lesson as well, we should know, or we will be able to know the ethics of love, what really is the real meaning of love, and when and where to fully consider emotions and feelings, a feeling or affections, or the feeling of love. So before this, let me ask you questions. What are emotions? What are emotions? Maybe you have heard about the famous line from Sugar Daddy, emotions going wild. And why do emotions gone wild? Especially when we cannot control our emotions, emotions would really go wild. What are emotions? Going back to this question. Hi, welcome. What was that? Okay. Okay, so emotions. Okay, ano na sila, nagsidatingan na. Welcome everybody. Welcome newcomers. Kakasimula lang namin. So yeah, so I should welcome you. So again, going back to these questions, what are emotions? Emotions are distinctive feeling, distinguished from reasoning or knowledge. Take note of that idea. Emotions uh, is distinguished from reasoning and knowledge. Emotions are the on the spot, meaning the brain gives to this external and internal sensory input or bodily sensations. That means that we can feel emotions through this sensory inputs, goal, and predictions. When we say sensory inputs, people or a person rather feels emotional through the five senses, whatever signals that he can receive from those senses. So we have sense of smelling, sense of touch, sense of seeing, sense of hearing. So you can be accordingly, you can be feeling emotional by looking at something, or perhaps you are surprised about something, so you're emotional. Or perhaps you have felt about something, and it makes you emotional. And nowadays, when people loses the sense of touch, or the sense of smells, and the sense of tastes, they become very emotional. Why? Because perhaps they are afraid that they will be positive for COVID. That is why when they are losing their sense of taste and sense of um, smelling, they are emotional. Also, aside from that, we can also, yeah. So those are actually examples of sensory inputs. The stimulus and our response would be emotional. Goal as well is one of the reason why people are going emotional, especially about when you have the goal to, to have something and reach something, and you just can't have it, you will feel emotional. And those wants and goals sometimes called human drives, the thing that you want to happen in your life, or just the thing that you want to acquire, or just the thing or someone that you want to have. Okay, but if you cannot reach it, you will feel emotional. Another um, source of emotions is the predictions. Predictions. What do we mean by this? When we say projections, so these are the memory accumulated from prior to experiences. This is actually called mga ano, yung mga predictions mo, yung mga akala mo sa buhay, or yung mga inaasahan mong mangyari sa buhay mo. And when it will not come true, you will feel emotional. Or perhaps you predict something bad. And that projections will make you emotional, sad, or just so or something. So there are three experiences from our response experiences with emotions. The first one is subjective experiences. What do you mean by this? When we say subjective experiences, our experience with emotions differs from each of us, differs from one person to another, because obviously, because we see one thing differently, we interpret one idea differently. So our experiences would depend on our perspective. There is also what do we call the psychological, or no, this is not psycho, this is physiological responses. These are bodily inputs. We feel emotional because of the senses that we receive from those five senses. And when we say physiological response, so these are now the responses of the emotions that we experience by receiving the inputs. For example, eyes. When you look at your ex having with another affair to a best friend of yours, perhaps, your pupils will dilate, and then you will be experiencing hard to breathe, or perhaps your bowel will move slowly. So pag emotional ka kasi nakita mo yung ex mo may kasama ng iba at tila masaya siya doon, ito yung mga experiences mo. So you receive the inputs from the sense of seeing. And then that would go together with your sense of thinking. Meron bang ganun? Sense of thinking? Diba? Because you will think differently when, yun yung subjective experiences. You will think differently and pwede kang magka-predict, and perhaps your goal will be affected by that, what you see. And other people will experiencing increase of blood pressure when they see something bad. Okay, so those are physiological responses. And even other people also experience to have their saliva decreases in flow. Skins will sometimes it constrict, and other people will experience excessive sweating or sweating. Yeah. And their hearts perhaps, or most of the time, beats faster, especially if it is about excess to the person that you love in the past, or a person from the past, or any issues in your life wherein that emotions will cause you feeling hurt, and so on and so forth. The third one is behavioral response. So behavioral response, these are the experiences of emotions wherein um, it depends on how we react to situations or how we deal with emotions. There is a saying that goes 90% of your life is how you react to it, and 10% is what happens to you. What does that mean? It means that every circumstances of your life is just 1 or 10%. How you react to the circumstances will conclude the 90%. So it means whatever happens to your life right now, that is because of you. How you behave on that, how you respond to that situations. How to change that? How to change that? Easier. I mean, easy. You just have to you have to control your emotions. And when we say controlling of emotion, that is what we mean by emotional intelligence. All right. Emotional intelligence will give you the ability to identify and manage your own emotions. And if you can manage your own emotions, you can also manage the emotions of others. Pwede ka nang maging guidance counselor. How you will cool down people who are emotionally stressed or something. I have prepared here a video. Now let's move on. Now let us differentiate feelings and emotions. So feelings are defined as emotional states of or reactions. Okay, take that note. Feelings are defined as an emotional state or reactions, while emotions are distinctive feeling. Okay, distinctive feeling distinguished from reasoning or knowledge. What do we mean by distinguished from reasoning or knowledge? It means that when you are emotional, there are tendencies, higher tendencies for you to act irrational. Feelings here also a conscious experience of emotional reactions. But emotions are unconscious experience of your responses to the stimulus inputs. So this following statement here are sometimes harmful, and this is wrong. That is why it is considered myth. Accordingly, emotions or our emotions are hardwired by evolutions, by our limbic brain, and emotions are triggered. It means to say that it is normal for us to feel emotional. That is a myth. Well, we cannot stop emotions, but we can control emotions. That is why it is myth. It is not built in for people. Another is that across the globe, humans have universal facial expressions for core emotions such as joy that causes them smiling. It is a myth because it is not everyone in this world who will smile when they're happy. Other people will just keep what they're feeling happy about. And there are also people who are good at smiling, even though behind that smile, they have been broken into pieces. Diba? May mga taong ganyan. Smile na smile lang ako, pero deep inside, something is actually killing me. So this is myth. Another idea is that amygdala is the fear center of the brain. When we say the fear center of the brain, uh, it could convey a message that emotions is uncontrollable. That is myth. We can control our emotions only if we know how to control them. And that would call us to become emotionally intelligent. Another idea is that we cannot go wrong trusting our gut feeling. So I always be reminded with I always tawag nito. I remember someone who says na she cannot get wrong with trusting her gut. That is a myth because sometimes our feelings, our guts is or can be also wrong, especially women. There are a lot of women nowadays na they would probably say, "Now this is what I am feeling right now. This is something that I'm predicting right now. I can't be wrong." That is a myth. Sometimes we will be wrong about something. So yan, emotions or feelings do not play any role in human acts and is not justifiable with regards to moral decisions. It can never be used as an excuse for our negative actions. For if we allow our emotions to decide, then we are not acting as human beings. In other words, we cannot make an emotional state as an excuse for doing something. Hindi natin pwedeng sabihin na, I did it because I was emotional. I'm sorry. Hindi yun pwede. You cannot make emotional states as an excuse of doing something, because if you will be controlled by your emotions, it means that you are acting not a human. Therefore, it is a must for us to control our emotions. Okay, and there are instances in our life wherein it can be considered, or our actions in our life wherein can be considered human acts and non-human acts. Kasi if we are into very aware of our doings or our deeds, that would be under our feelings, and it can be considered as human acts. But if emotions will control us, well, that would be no longer considered human acts. So when we say human acts, these are the actions that we perform knowingly, freely, and voluntarily. Take note of that three ideas: knowingly, freely, and voluntarily. If you are acting without your, knowledge, well, perhaps baka pinasukan ka na ng masamang spirito. Sinaniban rather. Pinasukan talaga. Hantsa ka naman ng salitang yun. Yun. So freely and voluntarily. Dapat with your consent. So there are three qualifications to consider actions as a human act. First, you must be fully aware of what you are doing and what you are going to do. Second, you are using your freedom of choice to decide using your innate free will. Free will. Third, your decisions is not coerced by any outside factor. What do you mean by this? You should be, again, doing only by your own free will, not coerced by other outside, or not influenced, or not because of the outside factor. Hindi ka inuutusan or not under influence by liquor. Right? Hindi ka na forced. That is human act. Pero kung na-forced ka, that would be no longer a human act. Gets? Do you understand that? Now let's proceed to ethics of love. Now, many people are confused between love and emotions. Are you one of these people? So we think, or those people think, that emotions are strong because of love. Ganon tayo, di ba? Sometimes. Our emotions will go wild if we are in love. Because according to us, according to our mindset or thoughts, it propels love, or emotions propels people to feel love. So we have to refute this perverted claim. In the scientific world, emotions can be seen through the face of the doer. So from there, we can discern happiness, sadness, anger, and content. But what moves them, it is not love, but drives. Okay? Sometimes kasi, if we fall in love and we are very emotional about that person, we tend to be, describing that this is really love, what I'm feeling about that person. It is really love. But sometimes it is actually not love. But what it is what we call human drives, something that we want. So by this drive, we mean the craving of man that they simply can't do without such hunger. So need for, sex, companionship, and the likes. So from these needs, yung binabanggit ko kanina, we develop a desire to acquire them by any means possible. Kaya yung iba, nang-rape na. And emotions are born. So if we succeed in doing so, we felt happy or contented. If not, it leads to frustrations that may later result into anger or sadness. and emotions will control you. And this craving of man boasted his competitive nature that he won't stop until he attached it. Ganun yung tao eh. So love, on the other hand, is an intense feeling of deep affections. That is also a drive, but compared to emotions, which is solely for self-aggrandizement, love does not necessarily have to be reciprocated. Take note, love does not necessarily have to be reciprocated. It means love is unconditional. So we can love another person, okay, things, or event, even if it does not render love in return. Diba? Sometimes we love our cell phone. Though that cell phone can make us happy sometimes, we can love our laptop, but that laptop will cannot love us back. What's worse in here is that sometimes we fall in love with other persons and we also want that person to love us back as we are also in love with them. But again, love does not necessarily have to be reciprocated. Love has to, abide with the aspects of involving moral appropriateness of loving. When we say moral appropriateness, you should abide the standard, the norms about this love. And if you're going to talk about the ethics of love and what really love is, we can only, all right, avoid these definitions of love we can find in First Corinthians. This is a biblical definitions or biblical definitions of love. If you're going to read this one, First Corinthians, I guess. Oh yes, chapter 13, verses 4 to 8a. So you can read it yourself. Love is patient and kind. In ancient Greece, they have learned three different kinds of love. First one is Eros. This is a Greek word for sensual or romantic love. Ito kasi yung natutunan natin, di ba? Eros love. This is the physical, the sensual intimacy between a husband and wife. So it is stated here, husband and wife, kasi yung sensual intimacy shouldn't be enjoyed yet with boyfriend and girlfriend. But what the reality is doing, they have already enjoyed the sensual intimacy, even kahit walang label. That's wrong. Philia, in other hands, it generally refers to the affections that felt between friends or family members. So these are the common loves that we felt to our siblings, mother, and other, our brothers and sisters. The third one is agape love. Agape is a form of love that is commonly referred to as neighborly love, or sometimes universal love. So it rests on the idea that all people are our brothers and sisters who deserve our care and respect. So agape love, this is the universal love, or also termed as neighborly love. Pero minsan kasi, this is what we have learned. We do not know about the real meaning of love. And sometimes we don't care about knowing it. As long as we want what is love, according to our own definitions, it can be love. But that is wrong. Kasi take a look at this. When we consider agape love as neighborhood love or neighborly love, minsan, you have seen your neighbor and nagiging close kayo, and you can consider it neighborly love until naging philia love, kasi parang tinuturing mo na siyang kapatid, kapamilya. Pero you feel something more, even more. It becomes Eros love. Tapos pinakasalan mo yung kapitbahay mo, di ba? At tapos sasabihin mo, ang true love ay nasa kapitbahay. Cheering to you. And if you have questions, you can also chat it down. But if you don't have any questions, I will not hold you too long. And that means you can already leave. But before that, I would like you to take this quote from Marcus Aurelius. He says that happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Okay, so do not blame others because what you are right now, where you are right now, that is because of your thoughts, the quality of your thoughts. So if you feel that your surrounding is toxic, that perhaps maybe you have to do an inventory of yourself, how you think about things. Again, 10% is what happens to you. 90% is how you react to it. Period.